So when a team wins 6 Super Bowls in the last 20 years and are looked at, in my opinion, as the best team in the last 2 decades in sports, but now we're looking at it as their quarterback could be retiring from the league and their dynasty could be over, well, we gotta talk about that.
The bent, that's big views. Boarded the plane, won't be back to Maine. Now I can't camp it with you.
Hey, how's it going, guys? So today I am going to be talking about the Patriots and the potential end to their past 2 decade dynasty, especially after their devastating loss that they just took from the Tennessee Titans. So before I forget, don't forget, go down and subscribe. I post new videos every single week talking about the biggest sports stories and giving a little bit of my analysis on it. And I also do the same thing on my Instagram and also my Twitter. And you can find that right up there or also down in the description box. So I would greatly appreciate it if you guys would support me on either of those platforms, and I post every single day on both of those. So as a Patriots fan, this is not a video that I really want to be making. This is not a day that I am too excited about sports or about the NFL playoffs in general. Actually, there's some really good games that are going to be going on, and it still will be very competitive. But just as a Patriots fan, it's a very somber moment after a pretty disappointing season, in my opinion. And I just want to start off talking about the Titans game. Now, going into this game, even as a Patriots fan, I usually look at these games as an NFL fan, especially now that I'm trying to analyze these sort of games and the sort of news that's coming out a little bit more. And I don't want to look at it as a biased fan. I really want to look at it at a very open-minded viewpoint and be able to give a honest opinion about every single topic about the Patriots or just about sports in general. And so going into this game, I honestly thought that the Patriots were going to beat the Titans just because Ryan Tannehill doesn't really have any experience whatsoever in the playoffs, and I just thought that the Patriots were a better team than the Titans in general on both sides of the ball. Not mostly through their defense because they have the second best defense in the NFL, but their offense has looked a little bit lackluster over the last few games, but I still thought that they were going to be able to find a way to get past them and be able to make those critical plays. But we just didn't see it. And something that I already knew going into the game, but didn't really think that it was going to be as explosive as it was Derrick Henry's running game. And I knew, obviously, looking at throughout this last season, he had the most rushing yards in the league. Like, there's no question about that the kid can run. But he got 182 yards throughout the entire game with one touchdown. But just to start off the game, he had 35 yards in the first drive. And that's when, I mean, obviously it's the first drive, so I'm not going to be getting nervous from the get-go, especially when the Patriots, they've shown us through the past 20 years that they can come back from anything. Wink, wink, Super Bowl 51, by the way, that right there. But, sorry, getting off topic. But so Henry was able to just run all over the defense just to start the game. And we even saw it even in the critical moments. Now, during the last drive, the Patriots had the Titans down to third down, and Henry was able to just get past them just enough to be able to make it so the Patriots were on their last leg in the end of that game. And, Ryan Tannehill, he threw eight. Ryan Tannehill was still mediocre. He was still a very productive passer throughout this game, even though he only completed 8 passes, but he only had 15 attempts, and he still got 72 yards. And that's just because they had a very run-driven offense during this last game, and Tannehill was still able to make the critical passes that he needed to. And we even saw it during that pass when it was third down in the end of that last drive that the Titans did have. And I remember the announcer saying, if he gets this first down, this is the play of the game for Ryan Tannehill. This is the play of his life. And if he gets this first down, it looks very, very bad for the Patriots. And he was able to make the plays. We saw it all throughout this last season. Ryan Tannehill really surprised a lot of people when he was able to make those pinpoint passes when the Titans needed them. And that's why they were in the playoffs in the first place. But it still just doesn't explain how the Patriots had a very embarrassing third down conversion rate, as well as were so inconsistent in the red zone. And we've seen it all season. I'm going to be talking about that in a little bit later in this video. But we just saw it on critical third downs. They were just not able to come up with the plays. And even just one of these things that just really annoyed me about the game, and even Tony Romo was like, "What just happened?" Is one of those runs that James White had into their pass or a run, but he just walked right out off the field into out of bounds, like 2 yards away from the first down. Like, come on, at least try and make an attempt towards the first down. Like, give the team a chance. I even think that that's when we had about 5 minutes left in the game, and it even went down to to us biting our nails when the Patriots only had 25 seconds to even do anything to be able to try and find a way to either get a field goal or to get a touchdown. It was just a lot of hand on my head, just shaking, and it was a very disappointing game for the Patriots. And it was, in my opinion, the definition of our entire season. And one thing that just didn't make a ton of sense to me was a few of the fourth down calls. Obviously, not a lot of teams like to go for fourth down, but in these critical games, critical moments, sometimes you just got to go for it. And Bill Belichick put so much pressure and a lot of weight on his defense to be able to really make those critical plays to get them three and out. And, he just sort of predicted, especially when the Patriots had 3 minutes and 15 seconds left and it was 4th and 6. Granted, we were on our own 37th yard line, but come on, Bill. You like I understand that you thought that we were just gonna get them to go three and out, and then we would get the ball back with about 2 minutes left. But you just gotta understand how efficient their offense had been throughout this game, and being able to really be able to pick up those third down conversions when they needed it. And we just saw it. It just totally fell apart. It didn't work out in our favor. And I thought it would have been kind of interesting if we went for that 4th and 6. And then there was also a 4th and 2 a little bit earlier in the fourth quarter that I was just like, what? Why not go for it? Why not try? Like Brady was even walking off the field like we're not even gonna make an attempt. Like, come on. Like, and then we just look at the biggest, most critical play, in my opinion, for the Patriots that just did not work out in their favor. And that's when, in the third quarter, Brady threw it down to Ben Watson for 37 yards. And that's just when you just saw the light. You just saw some sort of break that the Patriots finally got during this last game. And then it just all had to fall apart when Shaq Mason got that penalty for 5 yards because he was an ineligible player that was blocking in the back, was blocking ahead of the field. And it's just unfortunate. It was just the epitome of the entire game of things just not working out in our favor. And like I said, this last game was pretty much the definition of how our entire season pretty much went, especially in the last half of the season. We saw it during the first 2 months. We dominated. Oh my gosh, we were obliterating teams, but we didn't play any teams with, in my opinion, really any talent until the Ravens. And then the Ravens just really brought us back to reality. And then I think the two games that were just like, wow, this offense is really not where it has been in the last 5 years, especially we can go even shorter in the last 3 years. It's just Brady doesn't have any weapons, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about the limitations that he had a little bit later in the video. But it just totally showed that the defense in a lot of these games really had to pick up the slack that the offense wasn't putting on the field. And when the offense didn't really put up those points, that was a lot of pressure on the defense to be able to find a way to get that ball back to the offense. And it just really showed through the inefficiency through red zone offense, third down conversion. Brady didn't have any help whatsoever on the offensive side of the ball. And then there was just so many issues just in general from the tight end position and from the kicking position. And it just seemed like nothing was really going right for us in the second half, and we just saw it from the massive dip in points per game, with it going from 22 points. We got 22 points in 2019, and last season we had 26 points per game, and it just showed the drop in offense that the Patriots had throughout this last season. Getting into the red zone efficiency, we really saw it during this last game with the Titans. I mean, during the first drive, we were in the 10-yard line and we had to go for the field goal because we just went we almost went three and out, just mad easy. It was like snap of a finger, and there we go. We gotta kick a field goal. It's just because it seems like anytime Brady gets down in those short windows, he's not able to make the passes. He's not able to find the guys that are open, and he ends up just throwing it over the end zone, and it just looks embarrassing, especially of how efficient they have been throughout the last few years. And we just saw it in the stats. The Patriots was 26th in the league in red zone efficiency, only got it 49% of the time, and they were lower than teams like the Jets, the Giants, and the Dolphins. And, we can make the whole thing, well, they lost to the Dolphins, all this sort of crap. The Dolphins are 5-11. They have Ryan Fitzpatrick. They were planning on taking this entire season. There's no explanation why they are better in a few of these stats than we are, and there's no explanation why we lost last game. As you can see, I'm still a little bit upset from that loss. It just makes no sense. Going to third down efficiency, we saw it so much during this last game and even throughout the entire season. And it was just so bad, not only with the offensive line, but with Brady trying to find targets, that it seemed like every third down, Brady either got sacked or it was an incomplete pass. There's just no in between. There was no finding a guy. There was no getting down the field. We just seemed so lackluster and inconsistent throughout the season, not only on third down, but just throughout our entire offensive drives. And we were able to see it because we were ranked 18th in the third down efficiency, and we went from 42% last season to 38% this season. And like I just said with the offensive line, it was a huge issue, especially when David Andrews got injured. And there just had to be a lot of different changes on the front four, and there was a lot of confusion, it seemed like, during this last season. And it just totally showed when Brady got hit 89 times this last season. That's 15th in the league. And then the Patriots were also 26th in the most sacks, which, in my opinion, that really surprised me. And they only had 28 sacks throughout this season. But with the 89 hits, that just shows how much Brady was rushed and really had to find a time to either get the ball away or just tuck it under and just, take the hit. And it just totally showed, especially with the inefficiency that the Patriots had throughout their offense, with the lack of weapons that Tom Brady had. It was kind of funny when we got AB and everybody was just like, "Oh my God, it's gonna be like the Golden State Warriors." The dynasty's never gonna end. Like the Patriots are a sure Super Bowl favorite, and then when AB left, it just showed the huge hole that we had in wide receiver, especially after we cut Josh Gordon, which completely made sense because it wouldn't have worked out anyways because he would have just gotten suspended. And it just would have made the Patriots have much more bad press than, we already have. And so it was really interesting to look at the stats, especially when the Patriots in 2018 had 266 yards. And this year we had 247 yards, and we just totally saw how we just totally saw throughout this season that Brady had to find a way to get those targets open, especially with all the young options that he had in Jacoby Myers and N'Keal Harry, and Edelman just didn't look right. Dorsett wasn't always there, and it just showed how big of a hole that Gronkowski left when he decided to retire this last season. And we saw it especially in the production of the tight end position because we had guys like Mac Lacrosse, Ben Watson, and Ryan Izzo. All those three tight ends had 36 receptions and 418 yards throughout this entire season. When in 2018, Gronk had 47 receptions and 682 yards. That just shows how big of a hole and how Tom Brady really had to find a way to overcome that big body in the field, always finding a way to get open, because we saw how efficient the Patriots have been, not only in the last 3 years, but in the last 10 years on offense, and just finding a way to just dominate teams and just get down the field in a matter of seconds. But it just seemed like they were just so inconsistent this last season, and they really got to find a way this next offseason to pick up guys either through the draft or through the free agency because something needs to be fixed. The biggest question that seems like everybody in the world is talking about this morning is, will Tom Brady leave? Will Tom Brady retire? Will he go to a different team? In my opinion, here's your big answer: no. Tom Brady is going to retire as a New England Patriot. Tom Brady is not going to have his last pass in his career be a pick six to the Tennessee Titans. And there is zero way that Tom Brady is either going to the teams like the Panthers, the Colts, and the Chargers, because those are the only three teams that need quarterbacks this next offseason. And we have guys like Marcus Mariota, Jameis Winston, potentially Cam Newton, Philip Rivers, and Teddy Bridgewater already up for free agency. Three of those guys, excluding Philip Rivers just because of his age and his inconsistency through this last season, could go to really any of those three teams, which would just fill the void for the quarterback position in the NFL. But then don't forget, we have guys like Joe Burrow, Tua, Justin Herbert, Jake Fromm, and Jake Eason coming out of the draft. All those guys you could say could be backups, but like we've seen with so many of these teams recently and throughout the years, a lot of these teams like to bring guys and make them just start for the first season. But it'll be interesting to see what sort of teams groom these players and have them start in the second year. But there's no way that Tom leaves for another team, especially since he's not going to want to learn a whole new system in just his last few seasons, because in my opinion next year is going to be his last season. He just didn't look the same that obviously he has throughout the last few seasons, and we saw a big dip and decline in his performance. Granted, he had a lot of issues, like I just talked about, with his weapons, with his offensive line, but we just saw that he's getting down to his last limb. And it will be very interesting to see how this whole offseason works out, and how the Patriots are able to find a way to get these guys around Tom Brady to really give him some sort of help for this next season. Tom Brady is staying with the New England Patriots, and mark my words, the New England Patriots are going to be back next season in the playoffs. And that's just me not only talking as a Patriots fan, but as an NFL fan, because you can't bring down the beast in the NFL. And this team still has a lot of productive guys, and once Bill Belichick and once Tom Brady leaves, then we're going to start talking about them having a few losing seasons and a big drop in their win percentage. But mark my words, the Patriots will be back, and they're not going anywhere. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, not only about this last season with the Patriots, but the game with the Titans. Also, give me a big thumbs up if you did really like this. Also, don't forget, go down and subscribe. Follow both of my accounts on Instagram and also Twitter. I post every single day. Also, I just want to mention, I did just start a new podcast. It's about the Red Sox, and I would really appreciate it if you guys would go and listen to it. So that link is going to be in the bottom section below. And so thank you guys so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. See you next time.
Hold up, wait until